I broke a nail and it ruins my life. And hi everyone, and welcome back to ChicKnitChronicles. My name is Tiffany. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to have a regular podcast episode. Hopefully it records properly this time because it definitely didn't last time. So this is round number 2 for me. We'll go over, I have one FO, which is what I'm wearing, which we'll talk about. I also have 2 whips, and I have one kind of acquisition, I guess, maybe. I don't know, we'll see. But first, what I'm wearing is the Lento. I finished this since my last podcast episode, where if you were here, you listened to me rant about the stitch counts because for the size 55 at least, when you get to like that compound raglan part down here, it's 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 not right. Okay, so I'm just gonna say it like that. It's not quite right, but it's fine. It's fine. I got there. But just to give you a few more details about it, the mods that I made and how I got here. Lento is written for actually quite a big gauge. It's written DK weight for fingering and mohair, and it is written for US 10s, which I believe is a 6mm needle. And the first mod I did was I held fingering double, which is still DK weight, but I also used size 9s. No particular reason I used a US 9 instead of a 10. That's what I could find, and I was anti to cast something, anything on. Um, and because my gauge was off, I kind of Frankensteined um, the numbers a little bit. The pattern is written for folded over neckline. I did not fold mine over. I started out with the stitch count for the 45 inch, and then directly after I increased to the 49. Um, and I kind of, because at the time I had done my gauge math wrong. Well, I had looked up the wrong gauge math. I'm still using the gauge math website. And I was following the size for the 49, hoping to get something closer to the 44 or the 45. Come to find out later, after I had divided for sleeves and realized that my sweater was about this big, I was like, okay, too small. I should go back. I recalculated, I recounted my gauge and then put it into the gauge calculator and realized I should be following the size for the 55 given my gauge difference and what my goal was. So, because of that, I, again, the numbers for the 55 are wonky, but I got there. It's fine. And I finished. I cannot currently find the scraps left behind from the sweater, but it's cool. But it was about 5 grams left, and I had 4 full skeins of this color, which is Malabrigo yarn sock in the colorway Persia. And this is really pretty, like navy, also gray. It's like a blue gray tonal. The sweater, like this is my belly button here, so it's a couple inches longer than my belly button. I mostly wear high-waisted jeans, but I figured I kind of, this is a good length for me because I can French tuck it if I need or not, which I tend to do quite a bit. Um, and also, I didn't even notice until after I'd blocked it, but I did get some flashing here when I was doing the second 2 skeins. Doesn't really bother me much. Plus, it's also on the bottom, and if I'm French tucked, you know, how much of that are you really going to see anyway? I ended up doing half sleeves. They come, that's my elbow here. It comes just below my elbow. And my goal was mostly to use all the yarn. I really thought that I would end up somewhere with a half sleeve. I thought I'd end up above the elbow here, but I was just insistent on using as much yarn as I could. So I ended up just below the elbow, which is fine for me. I think it's going to be perfect for spring. Um, as you know, the weather is slowly starting. It's doing that yo-yo thing. It's a little bit warm and then it's cold, then it's warm, then it's cold. I feel like with the drape that I'm getting here, I'll be good when it's cold because it's warm enough. It is DK weight, but also I'll be warm when it's cold, but I also, because of how much drape and airiness there is in the fabric. I think I'll be fine when it starts to warm up. I probably won't wear it when I get full into summer. DK is probably a little too much for me in summer, but we'll see. I guess that's really it when it comes to how this came out. I'm really enjoying it. I like it quite a lot. It's it's exactly what I was going for, and that's really the part that was important to me. Again, I had intended to knit it in pink, but this blue was already wound, so I didn't have to wind it up. I could just start, and sometimes it's all you need. So, yeah. And then to go on to my whips, I have two. I started with uh, after I finished this, I was allowed to cast on something, and that is the Traveler sweater by Minima Knit. Um, and I've never done this kind of construction before. It is a saddle shoulder. So you're starting in the shoulder here. You cast on across the back, one stitch down here for the seam of the saddle shoulder, and then like it was a couple for the front, and you just increase on the front and the back for a while, and then you go and you form a sleeve cap, and you start doing that. It's like I've never done this kind of construction before. It was very interesting. So I feel like I'm probably going to get a really good fit when it comes to the shoulder and sleeve portion of this pullover. And then also, I did one modification. Oh, that wasn't loud. I did one modification where this front detail is not intended per the pattern instructions. It's supposed to stop when you join in the round, and then you're just supposed to knit flat. One of the projects I saw, she had run hers for about 2 inches or so before she stopped, and I just decided I wanted to run it all the way down the front, so that's what I'm doing. Um, so I'm enjoying that. It's been fun. Um, the yarn that I'm using is Plucky Knitter Traveler Sport and the color On the Rocks. Um, but it's been going really well. I really like it. And I think it's going to be good in regards to like, I really am trying to not quite capsule my wardrobe, but to have knit basics, things that I can throw on and go and that go with everything in a more casual way. Um, So that's kind of like where my focus has been lately. Like, yeah, knit statement pieces are great, but like I want the piece that I know fits me well because I made it, but also the thing that it kind of goes with everything. It mixes and matches. It mixes and matches in my wardrobe. So like those are the pieces that are important to me right now. And that could change, which would be fine. But like I'm wanting more staples. I want more hand knit, me made staples. So I feel like this is a really good option for that. And it's intentionally written to be, I think it's called a 3 or 4 season sweater because it's sport weight. I'm sure some people could match gauge on fingering, but I had the yarn, so I'm using it. And this is also super, super deep stash. I've had this for a while. This is also, I've had this in my collection for years. So I'm trying to use what I have in creative ways and ways I hadn't thought about previously. And I think part of what had stopped me with this yarn previously, I think I bought it for a dress. I don't remember what I bought it for. It's been so long, but I was put off by the color for a long time. So I was like, what are you going to do with that? And then I hadn't sold it or destashed it. And it was just sitting there staring at me. And I was like, you know what? That's actually it's a good color. Like you could do something with it, think of something. So then it's like, make the lento with it. It works. So here we are. My other whip, okay. I broke a nail and it ruins my life. And I know that sounds really dramatic, but it's true because I broke my middle finger, as you can see right there. Okay, like I am someone who wears my nails long. Okay, and I realized a while ago, I'm a continental knitter because I was a crocheter first, right? So I hold the yarn in my left hand, which is fine. I mostly wrap it around my first finger. But what I didn't realize is that I use the fingernail on my middle finger to help me guide and control the yarn on my needles. And it's frustrating to do that when you've ripped the tip of your fingernail off and are just kind of operating in pain, because this happened the other day, probably about 2 days ago, and it still hurts and it's super, super, super slowing me down. Um, I say all that because it's directly relevant to the next project I'm going to show you. I am currently working on um, the April camisole by Sophie of the Knit Purl Girl, and I'm knitting this out of Knitting for Olive pure silk and the color coal, and I don't know, the whitest white. I'm drawing a blank on the name. I'll put it on the screen, but it's the whitest white. They have a couple of different whites, but this is the purest white. Like there's no pink or blue or gray undertones. Like it's their white one. Um, and what I realized, I don't like knitting with this yarn. Um, I I much prefer knitting with wools. I I've knit with Knitting for Olive, the silk, the pure silk, one previous time when I knit my ranunculus, and I knit it out of two strands of black. The coal is the color, held together, and it was on a bigger gauge, and I don't know if that had an impact on my response to it, or if my headspace is just different right now. But like knitting this held single on, it's a US 4, which is what, a 3.5 millimeter needle. Um, I'm not enjoying the process. The pattern itself is great. Sophie's attention to detail is amazing. I love the stitch pattern. I think this is going to be a great, great tank for spring and summer, being silk, and that it's quite fine. It's got amazing drape. I tried it on for the first time using try it on tubing that I got from Michaels, and it's not technically try it on tubing, but it works. Um, and it it's a little bit shorter than I want it to be currently. It's long enough to be cropped, and it hangs over a high-waisted jean probably by a couple of inches, which is great. But for me, for more practical purposes, I want it probably to be about 2 inches longer before I do the bottom hem detail. So that's what I'm trying to get through. I got about another week and some change left in the test. But again, broken fingernail, it's slowing me down. Plus, yarn that is also slowing me down. And what I realize is that, like, I don't, well, tangled up. Um, this yarn, it's splitty and it has no give, it has no bounce. Um, So, and like, it's not necessarily hard on my hands. Like, I've heard people say that about cotton and linen. Like, I don't find it hard on my hands. I just don't enjoy the process. I think what I've started doing or have realized I do, I don't know, is like I kind of rely on the bounce and the spring of wool in order to knit. And I can't do that with this. It's even my mom noticed. She's like, "You're still making that." She's like, "It's a tank top. You've knit sweaters in less time." And I'm like, I know. Um, but I think the fabric itself is going to be perfect for the summer. Like the gauge and the drape that I'm getting is awesome. But it's the pattern is great. Like when it comes out, you absolutely should knit it. It's top down, as you can see. You start with the back, um, and then you're shaping the neckline and all of that. You knit down to the bottom of the arm scythe, and then you pick up and you start knitting down the front, And then when I got to joining the round, I immediately went and did the collar and the sleeves just because it helps, it helps you see what you're making better. Um, I messed up. The white stripe is a 2-row repeat, and the first row you knit, and the second row you're like creating the texture. And um, on my this was my last row before I was joining in the round, and I guess I was just so excited to be ready to join in the round. I knit both rows instead of knit and then do the texture row. So then, and I didn't realize it until I'm coming back around, and I can't remember if I was still knitting the black stripe or if I had made it all the way to the white stripe, but I wasn't about to rip back all of that joining and casting on and come. It was too many things. So what I did, which I thought was going to be fine, was as I was knitting that next row, I dropped back, fixed it, and then went on to the next stitch, went back, dropped it, fixed it, and it made that row kind of chaotic looking, and that wouldn't have happened with wool. Wool would have just fixed itself and been fine. But pure silk is like, no, I'm gonna broadcast your mistake for the world to see. So, yeah. You see that? You see how chaotic that stripe is? Look at that. Foolishness. Right there. For the world to see. On the boobage. It's fine. It's fine. I'm hoping that blocking will help. I don't know that it will fix it, but hoping it will help relax some of the confusion of that stitch there. The neckline is folded, um, which was not fun with black yarn. As I've aged, my eyes are not as good as they used to be, but it looks good. Y'all know I don't try on sweaters. I just make them and then I'm done because I'm usually good about gauging with my eyes. I don't know what I'm doing with silk. I'm out of my depth. Okay, like I don't know what I'm doing, but it's coming out all right. I think. Like I said, I have a couple more inches, um, and then I can do the bottom hem, and then I'll be done. So that's my tank. Um, it's called the April Camisole, if I didn't say, and it's coming out. I want to say at the very beginning of May. So get your stuff ready. It's actually a really good pattern for summer. Um, Depending, and maybe you don't have the same experience with knitting for all of pure silk. I don't know. And I don't even think that's the recommended yarn. I think the recommended yarn is wool. I just wanted to knit something that was very specifically in summer yarns, mostly because I haven't before. So I just wanted to try something new. And people wax poetic about that yarn, so thought I'd try it. Personally, I can see the functionality, and I'll see if the juice was worth the squeeze after it's blocked, because it's quite crunchy. So I'll see if it softens after it's blocked. I don't know. And no, I didn't do a gauge swatch. It's fine. Don't at me. Y'all know how I do. Um, yeah. And then I guess the only thing I have next is okay. So you know how I was talking about wanting more wardrobe staples? And what I realized is ultimately at my core, like deep in this part right here, I am a t-shirt and jeans kind of girl. Like I want to look elevated basics, but ultimately I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of girl. And I don't really have knit t-shirts. And like I feel like that's a problem for me because it's who I am. Like I regularly go through phases in my life where it's like I just want a nice white t-shirt and some jeans, or I want a nice black t-shirt and some jeans. I have knit neither one of these items. How is that possible? So that's the new plan. I need a t-shirt to go with jeans. Hand knit, obviously. So yeah. The only thing I do know that I think I want, I'm still finding the t-shirt and figuring out which one it's going to be, is I'm pretty sure I don't want a raglan. I don't want this line here. I want something that's more um, saddle shouldered, or something that is contiguous. I want something that gives the t-shirt look. I want that shoulder seam and a sleeve cap. I definitely want something along those lines. So I've been looking to see, and as a result, I've compiled quite a list, and I will probably come back and share said list with you all, and hopefully by then I will have picked the one that I want to make. I'm pretty sure I'm going to start with black. I need a black t-shirt. Um, I think that's just something I need, and I want it to fit and drape just right. I don't want it to be too big on the sleeve. I want it to fit my arm. Um, so I'll have to see what kind of options I can find that are going to be what I'm looking for, you know? In addition to that, I guess kind of segues into what my acquisition is. So the acquisition is not yarn. Maybe you don't care. You guys can let me know in the comments. Do you care about this kind of acquisition? But these pants have been stalking me. They have been stalking me on the interwebs, mainly Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you totally should. Same handle, ChicKnitChronicles. I've been trying to be more active. It's a process. These pants have been stalking me, and I have resisted them. I have resisted them, and I have resisted them, and I have resisted them some more. But I finally caved. I had to have them, and here we are. And when I was trying these on, that's when I realized, but Tiffany, you don't have a hand knit t-shirt to go with this. I have yarn that I could make to make a hand knit t-shirt to go with it. That I have. The fingering yarns over there. But I needed a black t-shirt to go with this. And then, oh my God, okay. So, side note. Well, not side note, additional note. I also need a white, off-white vest worn as a shirt. And kind of gone down the rabbit hole with that. I have not found the right, because I keep seeing, again, I'm being assaulted by this continuous vision I'm seeing online of white button down v-neck vest, drapey, like not fitted, but kind of like has a nice drape to it vest with jeans. And I need that in my life, but I need a pattern for that. Okay, so I started looking for vests, and none of them were right patterns that I could find. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I can modify a cardigan. And I still haven't found the right one. So, like, that is a work in progress. So, if you guys know, I'm going to insert a picture. The white vest and jeans look. That's the look I want. Do you all know a pattern that I can knit that looks like those vests? If you know one offhand, or if you know a cardigan pattern that very much looks like those vests, then I can just eliminate the sleeves, which would mean I would need a drop shoulder or saddle shoulder constructed cardigan that I can omit the sleeves for, preferably separately set in shoulder. Just the way it's easier, I can just, do some finishing and it's done. But yes, I want a vest, a button up vest, a v-neck vest with jeans. I just think that'd be cute for summer. So I need that. And cardigans. The cardigans to wear as shirts. Because what I realized is I like cardigans. And I will throw on a cardigan when I have a chill, but generally speaking, I don't wear cardigans as cardigans. I wear cardigans as shirts. So basically, I don't unbutton them. I just leave them buttoned and I wear it as a shirt, and I want knit ones. I have been knit-fluenced by Mia and Grace to knit the cardi jumper, so that's on my list of, I've added that to my list of things. I also still have my Kinvara cardigan, which is what I'm not allowed to cast on until I finish this tank, because I know that if I do, I'm going to obsess over it and start knitting that, and then I don't finish my April Camisole by the Knit Purl Girl. So I'm intentionally waiting to cast that on, though I'm pretty sure I have the yarn wound and waiting for me. But also with that, I intend to probably just sew the placket together. I mean, buttons and all. Like, I want the buttons there, but I'm going to wear it as a shirt. Like, I'm not going to unbutton it, so there's no point. And I probably can figure out how to knit it in the round after a certain point, and then just sew the buttons on, and like, that's a conversation for a later day. But like, that is my plan. But I need more cardigans like that. And I think the cardi jumper is a good option for that because, again, it's giving me a shirt and cardigan look, but it's technically a cardigan. Um, and I have to look and see if that pattern, I'm sure it can be modified to knit flat, but that's my goal with a couple of different cardigans. And I also do legit want just a cardigan. Um, I was thinking about the Leaf cardigan by Rebecca Clow. She had posted, she made hers in like a solid gray, and a lot of people talked about they really like the fit of it. So I'm curious to try that in a solid, just to have like a lit like, oh, it's cool outside, let me toss on a cardigan kind of thing. And I know that that's not usually my speed, but I do want to give that a try. And I specifically want it in a spring color. So we'll see. Is that enough future plans? I feel like my future plan list is way longer than it should be. And also, how much of it is actually things that were on my spring knitting plans list? I don't know. But I have a tank. It's not the tank I intended, but I have a tank, and I can still make the other tank. So we'll see. But that one's gonna require me to make significant mods because I'm gonna wear a regular bra with straps that sit on my shoulder and not do a weird crisscrossy thing because I don't live that life. I guess that's it. If you're, is that it? I guess I've been rambling long enough. Again, thank you for being here. If you would like, please like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share with a friend. It really does help my channel grow, and I appreciate that. And I will be back in the not too distant future with a probably way too long list of t-shirts. And they will most probably all be fingering weight because that's who I am. But yes, summer t-shirts. They're on the way. You all have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.